Nike Team Nationals. 20 teams in all, 16 selected from 8 regions, and then 4 at-large squads. Some of the favorites from York, Spokane, Ferris, Meade, Clifton Park, Simi Valley. And off we go. And the temperature's been rising all morning long. And conditions are actually excellent. People are starting to take off their parkas, but it's, Alec, beautiful running weather. You can give everything you got. None of the heat you generate is coming back on you.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about wearing extra clothing or anything like that. You can just get out there and run your hardest.
All right, Rich, what did we learn from the girls' race? Allison Sawyer from Hilton went out hard. Hilton went out hard like they did last year. Manly has waited till 2K. That was their game plan, and it really, really worked, and it came on strong through the final 3 kilometers. Should the boys take a lesson from this?
They definitely should, and there's a contrast in styles here. We have York, which is a speed team, so we'll see how they fare here, but also Coatesville out of New York. They're a squad out of PA. It's a squad that's very, very strong, a strength team, so this suits their style of running here.
Now talk about Coatesville for a second,
sure,
because they did not leave the state of Pennsylvania all year long. They did not accept any of the invitationals to come run. So they dominated, they won everything, and it's been a while since they've had a meaningful competition once again.
This is very true. There was a team that was coming on well within their state towards the end of the season, but for the most part, it was very one-sided. We actually set a pretty high bar for them to try and qualify for this event. They answered every challenge throughout. They really ran extremely well start to finish this year.
You know, some teams like to strategically do that, kind of hide out and not show their cards, and you know, some athletes like to do that as well.
Well, then again, in the Northeast region, once again, or in California, you can't afford to do that because in your region, in your conference, you've got people who are all just as good as you are, and you can't avoid them.
Right, you have teams that are pretty much right beforehand going to their section finals in their state meet. If they don't show well, they don't even make NTN.
Well, here we look at early on at some of this pack, and that's what it very much is very much of a pack. There isn't an Allison Sawyer type boy in the race yet. They're all very much within themselves. You know, I talked to Michael Cybulski, who is one of the great runners for Simi Valley. And Michael said, listen, what we learned last year is you can't run 4:40 for the first mile. You got to run 5:10 for the first mile in order to have anything left in your legs in that final kilometer.
Very much so. Last year he came out very fast in the first mile. He is a speed runner, and that last kilometer he was being passed left and right, and he promised to be much more patient this time around.
Well, Kyle Dawson from Coatesville is in the lead. He was 3rd at the state meet earlier this year. We also had number 122 right up there. That was Joshua Mathis. He was the 2nd man on Potosi's squad. And the information we've got is that the number 1 guy, Josh Tebow, who was sick last week at the Midwest Regionals, is sick again and throwing up this weekend, and just is not at the top of his game. And it really hurts the Potosi squad because they were very strong.
Right. We did actually have a bit of a situation yesterday where we had 3 individuals from top teams, including 2 #1 runners that came down with a gastrointestinal virus. So they're not expected to be in this lab today. So we'll see what kind of impact it is and see how their teammates can cover that absent runner.
Just right off the bat, saw a number of runners from Spokane, the Ferris boys right up in the front. There's one right there in 3rd. We'll get his number 2nd, but I saw 4 guys right in the top 10 right off the bat.
Number 148, James Neff, a senior from the Woodlands Cross Country, was 9th at the state meet in Texas, was right up there in front going past our broadcast location. Well, we're looking at the 1K. Spokane in the lead at 99. Carmichael Cross Country at 105. Then the Hills at 123. Clifton Park 127. And then Coatesville, Bridgetown, actually, that's their name here, is in 5th place. And very, very close. Very close indeed through 1K. Kyle Dawson, Joshua Mathis, James Murdock. Now, Murdock, of course, from Clifton Park. He made he's somebody we expect to do well, Rich.
That's actually Stephen Murdock, actually, from Clifton Park. And he actually should be one of these top runners in the year. He's already qualified for the Foot Locker Nationals for next weekend. And he's definitely one of the individual favorites here.
And here's our standings up on the screen. Spokane Cross Country, that's the Ferris boys. Carmichael Cross Country and the Hills Cross Country. Very strong out of, west of the Mississippi. Keep that up there. And we're writing this all down very fast, Alan and I. And Carmichael with 105 and Hills Cross Country at 123, but we found out from the girls there's lots to learn and lots of distance to go.
Right, very interesting. The first 3 teams here are all from the West Coast. Spokane from Washington, Carmichael, and Hills from California.
And again, California historically hasn't done well here at Nike Team Nationals, and you know that's sticking in their craw.
Definitely. One thing to keep in mind, though, Carmichael's a team that came on well last year, beat some ranked teams they supposedly should not, finish 7th here. This is a very, very strong team, very experienced, very well coached. There are some people out there that think that this team could pull a stunner and win this race today.
Well, it seems like historically the California teams, seeing that they run on tough and fast courses a lot, they like to go out hard. And that's what, as Tony said, they like to go out hard, and they did it last year, and that kind of came back to bite them.
Exactly. The kids that came through this course yesterday from California were commenting on just how difficult this course was. They were asking, where's the cement? So definitely this is something that's very foreign to them.
Yeah, many of their races finish on the track, actually. You know, they'll have a quarter lap, 300 meters on the track, which this is a lot different than that.
David Hickerson, number 138. He's out of Spokane Cross Country in Ferris.
That's Cybulski, and then moved to 3rd as well.
And Michael Cybulski, I talked to his mom, Kathy, this morning at breakfast, and she said, you know, these guys are coming off a lot of top competitions week after week after week, and maybe they're a little fatigued. She said on Tuesday his quads were still a little bit sore from the meet, the Fresno meet last week, the CIF championships. But, you know, that's what it's about, is getting ready and putting aside the things which are trying to drag you down and try to rise to the occasion.
Pretty much, definitely. Obviously, some of these top kids might have 2 more weeks left in their season after the California State meet, so they're working on trying to pace that peak just properly. As you mentioned before, Tony, we also have these squads that have finished for over a month now. It's a case of just in their cycle.
You know, I saw that as 138 from Spokane Cross Country. It's really 139, Nick LaPlante. He's a senior. And to give you an idea, you know, he was 25th at the state championship. So that tells me that the pace is not very strong, and these guys really are taking it easy and saving the race for the second half.
Right, definitely. Also, one piece of good news for the meet program also out of Washington, Dylan Hatch was in that front pack at 2nd place early on.
Well, now they're starting to sort of press just a little bit, try to get their hip numbers so we can tell you who these athletes are. But it's all about 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and we're coming up on the 2K split. And first across is Bridgetown. That's Coatesville Cross Country with 119. Alan, read it out there.
Well, we got Spokane, 125. Simi Valley's at 142. The Hills, Clifton Park. Now Meade.
Simi in 3rd place with 142.
So still very close at this point.
Michael Cybulski's moved up into 4th place. He went out very hard last year, and he's a senior, but he's still very young, Rich.
Very much so. He's only 16 years old, actually. He's definitely very young for being a senior in this class. He's going to start out in college as a 17-year-old.
But he is also the star of that squad.
Very much so.
Has been for 2 years in a row. Excellent.
Even as a sophomore, he ran very well. And once again, he was a young sophomore. He has 8:50 for 2 miles. That's his PR in this event. So he's very, very strong. Also in cross country, has success running 14:45 on the Mount Sac course.
And you see Colby Lowe from Carroll's moved up to the front. He's also qualified for the Foot Locker.
He's the state champion from Texas. Exactly. But now we see Bridgetown, which is also that's Coatesville. Bridgetown cross country at 119. Spokane, Ferris 125. Simi West at 142. So you've got spread across the country a little bit. You've got the East, you've got the Northwest, and you've got this Southern California. And 4th is Hills, and Clifton Park. That's Shenandoah, New York in 5th, and Meade cross country in 6th. So there's a lot left to be run. I'm writing all this stuff down so we can, this game of running is such a stats game. We get lost in the stats, but everyone's hungry for those numbers.
Oh, definitely. So right now up front, once again, it's no real surprise here. Stephen Murdock out of Clifton Park, and also we have Michael Cybulski out of Simi West, Simi Royal in that lead group.
Very close in the team standings through 2K. I mean, just 6 points separating the first two, Bridgetown, Coatesville, and Spokane Ferris. And Simi, Hills, those are the big competitors in the Southern California. They battled one another all throughout the season. As a matter of fact, Hills beat Simi, I believe, in the regionals, or was the states?
It was actually the state meet where Hills completely a bit of an upset there. Simi Valley has their full squad intact right now. They had one key kid out last week. An additional week of training. Hopefully they can go ahead and make it a really exciting race between the two.
Yeah, the number 3 man, Danny Benson, returns from injury. He only ran 5th. There's number 10. That's one of our Bridgetown runners. And that is Owen Dawson. who's a senior, and he was 8th in their state meet. And they were all senior scorers in the top 20 in their state meet, and they only had a 42-second compression. And that's really the power they had. So Steve Murdock is now opening up just a little bit.
Cybulski's in second here.
Cybulski in second.
An academy athlete there in third.
Right. I've been watching Pino out of Carmichael in fourth. A big surprise there.
Well, that could have been Benjamin Johnson, who was the state champion from New Mexico. There's Simi Valley right there. Number 132 from Simi Valley. Well, of course, that's June Reichel. He is one of the characters on that squad. There's no doubt about it. Now we go back to Steve Murdock.
And Steve Murdock's competed here before, actually, for a different team. So this is unique that he's actually with a different program, so he has the benefit of seeing.
He's a defending champion from Saratoga.
There you go.
He was the Saratoga boys champion team last year, and then he transfers over to Shenandoah, and he's got the lead. But again, he's got one of the higher rankings. He was definitely one of the favorites in the race, and not a surprise. But as we found out, Allison Sawyer was for the girls as well, and she had an early lead, and she gave that up, but showed great strength in maintaining for the third position. That's the hardest thing to do, is get past after being in front. As we go on to the 3K split, and now it's Simi West with 132 and Spokane and 133.
That's outstanding. I know the high school coach from Simi West last week when he gave the last day of coaching, he talked to the kids about, you know what, we lost a state meet, but if you guys take care of business, you guys can actually be national champions.
Yeah, 1 week to the next. Bridgetown at 144, Clifton Park at 162, Potosi in 5th, without Josh Sebo being at the top of his game in 5th place. But the first time we've seen a Missouri squad here, and that's great to see them perform so well.
Definitely, and that just says volumes about their depth. When you have your number 1 out of the lineup, and you're still right now coming right in the thick of this team competition.
Here come the standings up on the screen as we watch Murdock go over the whoop-de-doos. Simi West at 132. Spokane Ferris 133, Bridgetown Cross-Country 144. You know, Rich, this reminds me of 2004 when Manlius and Croy, back then York, Elmhurst, were within 1 point at one particular point, or 4 points difference, and then at the end, Elmhurst really opened up that gap in that final kilometer.
It was a war in the middle kilometers. It was going back and forth. You're right, it was a war. And then on that last kilometer, the kids from Elmhurst just came flying down that home straightaway, racked up a lot of team points there, really closed the door on the rest of the competition.
June Reichel from Simi Valley looking very smooth and strong.
That's his teammate there. Appears to be Ralph, also from Simi Valley in that group.
So that's great. When you see runners from the same squad running side by side, that's so motivational.
Definitely. In a course like this, really, this is all about team pride here. When you have a teammate there on your shoulder to push you, can encourage you to keep you going.
So you can see how close this is. I mean, this is death and destruction. People are ready to go right to the line with this race. We're now 12 minutes and 20 seconds into it. There's another Simi runner.
It's Ralph. It appears to be Ralph from Simi in that group there.
That's Alex Rotha Jr. He's right in there. And again, their number 3 man, Danny Benson, was returning from injury, only ran 5th man at the state meet in Fresno. And they lost by 11 points to the Hills cross-country squad. But now I think Danny Benson's got that extra week, and I think he's going to try to, if he returns to his form, the number 3 man, they're going to be tough.
Even though Royal was short-handed last weekend, as far as Simi West this weekend, keep in mind, his Hills last week ran outstanding. They set a course record there for the California State meet. So California's looking at hopefully going 1-2 in this race if all the chips fell into place.
Well, Steve Murdock's opened up over a 7-second lead now, so he seems to be running away with this at this point.
Well, Simi is advancing every kilometer from 7th to 3rd to 1st, and that's exactly how you want to have your standings go, not the reverse order.
Once again, last year they came out fast and they faded. This year the plan was come out slow, conservative, and move up as a team.
Okay, 4K, we're now going past, obviously, Steve Murdock is the first runner through at 4K, so we're starting to see some action there. We're 13 minutes and 37 seconds into it. 15:43 was the winning time 2 years ago. 16:26 last year. That showed how bad the conditions were. So we're looking right around, 15, right at 5-minute pace essentially.
Yep. Right. We'll try and keep an eye also on the individuals from that West region for Foot Locker in that girls race. Both qualifiers appear to be from Newport. They were Sarah Cummings and Shelby Buckley that advanced to Foot Locker's Nationals for next weekend.
Steve Murdock, a strong man in front, but now we see meet cross country with the first third place runner across. And now Bridgetown is 3 across, and Potosi 3 across, Simi 3 across. the 4K split, that is. And now Bridgetown, that's Coatesville Cross Country, the first with 4 runners across. Again, that's what it's all about. Now Simi knocks it down there. Got 4th runner. Spokane and Hills both have 4 runners across at the 4K mark. Boy, so close. Now is who's going to get the first 5th runner across?
Because that's the key, the 5th runner.
And
there
Simi's number 5 is really the key to this race so far. We'll have to identify who that is.
Well, and there we go. We have Bridgetown with 130, Simi Valley 141, Academy now. Academy was doing up well. Oh, nope, Spokane 162.
Bridgetown with 130, Coatesville 130. That was a big move by Bridgetown. They already got 7 across before the other one got 6. So Simi in second at 141. So that was a big move from Bridgetown. Went from 144 to 130. So they picked up 14 points on that particular kilometer from 3 to 4 kilometers.
Once again, they're a strength team. Out in Pennsylvania, they have some very tough, very serious courses out there. So something like this is something they're very used to.
Here's our current standings with Bridgetown Coatesville, 130. Simi West with 141. Spokane Ferris in third. Was one of our Bridgetown guys right now.
Well, once again, that poses the question, is Bridgetown, having not seen some of these other athletes throughout the year, maybe it's been an advantage to kind of hide out and do their own thing and just stick to the plan and say, hey, we're getting ready for the big dance.
That's Tom Panula, a senior, that we're looking at right now on the screen. But, that's exactly right. Sometimes the competition will fade you out, tire you out just a little bit. I mean,
Emotionally.
Who doesn't, right? How many times can you keep getting up week after week after week? And other people basically just, keep their powder dry, not go out of the state. But then again, if you haven't had a meaningful competition in 7 weeks, but anyway, right now, it seems to be working very well for Bridgetown.
It's a testament to the coaching, because it really says that he's prepared them well and that he gives them the confidence to know they're going to run well.
Well, he's turning it on 16-16, coming home down to the wire. And Steve Murdock, he's going to win this competition individually. And here he comes. Hits the line 16-26 or 27 unofficially, right on the same time as last year.
An Academy, right there we go.
Number 3. Number 3 from Academy is Ben Johnson.
And Carroll's Colby Lowe in 4th.
Cybulski from Sun Valley in 3rd.
Coming in, Cybulski 3rd. But so now we really start finding out who's got what left and who's got the big heart. But Ben Johnson from Academy in 2nd place. Cybulski in 3rd. That was for Simi. That's going to hold them in good stead, but they got some work to do to try to get ahead of Bridgetown Coatesville. There's a Bridgetown runner really cranking it up for the final stretch. Hills number 81. Academy so far 9th at 1K, 8th at 2K, 7th at 3K, and 4th at 4K. So Academy coming on strong.
Really came on strong.
Well, there's the Cheyenne squad. There's an Elmhurst runner. We haven't talked about Elmhurst all race long, Rich. What do you think?
The one question regarding Elmhurst coming in was they didn't quite have that bravado. The question was, can they really come out and on this stage get the job done? There was one member from that team from 04 that won this race, and they had 4 back from last year. But the big question was, how would they respond in this kind of environment, because they really hadn't shown to have the same kind of cockiness as years past.
It's been a tough year for Elmhurst Cross Country in many ways. On the course, not so much, but off the course, they've had a tumultuous year in many ways. And maybe this was the time where it showed up here at the Nike Team Nationals. And you could look on the face right there of that Elmhurst runner sort of shaking his head. It wasn't the body language you're looking for.
Right, definitely. And something like this, if you don't have your A game on a day like this, you pay the price, because there are some very, very good teams here all over the place.
Well, it's interesting to see the times, to see that they ran as slow as last year, which is kind of surprising because the course seems in better condition than it is last year.
But I think what happened is they went out very conservatively.
Yeah, that's
true. I think that was part of it. I think people get lost in this idea of they want to run fast times, and we lose the idea of a foot race. And here it's all foot racing. Just throw your watches away. They're inconsequential.
Definitely. Times are out the window. It's all about positioning points here.
Anyways, the crowds are really big along this finishing stretch. There's so many parents and so many friends that come out all over the country for this. You look at the parking lot of the host hotel, and there's all these different license plates from spread all over the West Coast.
Got the drum line out there. It's a great atmosphere.